morning, ladies and gents. Thank you for coming today. Welcome to a presentation on the forthcoming changes for occupational pension schemes, work pension schemes that are approaching rapidly for all employers in the UK. Key things you need to be aware of in this presentation, guys. Appreciate pensions aren't the most vibrant of subjects, but there are some really important must-know things that you'll pick up today. Presentation is designed to be educative and informative, and also I'll try and make it as enjoyable as possible as well, both for you and for me, because, as we said, pensions aren't exactly a throbbing subject. So, my name's Andy Hopper, as you saw on that slide. I'm a corporate pension consultant with Manning & Company. This is us as a company, established in '87. Authorised and directly regulated by the FSA, that's the industry watchdog. Our head office is in Ivy Bridge in Devon, but we have regional emphasis throughout the southwest of England. And we have specialist in-house expertise, both in occupational or works pensions, plus other areas too. For presenting purposes, I have two props. This is the more traditional presenting one, which moves the slides on. This one is a kind of in honour of an old school teacher, which I remember slightly, semi-fondly, I suppose. Sticks in the memory because he used to do this, stand in front of the class and do that. It's also handy for pointing things out and keeps me busy, so that's the reason for the stick. We've set the scene. You're sitting comfortably. Sea of anticipation and excitement. Yeah, all nodding heads. So let's move on to the agenda. Introduction we've kind of done. Pension compulsion, auto-enrolment, what is that about? How is it going to affect you as an employer? Your obligations in respect of meeting these regulations and the penalties if you don't. The penalties will water your eyes when we get to that slide. It's staggeringly high. As options as an employer, you have four. One is a premium option, the other three are sort of a slightly lesser attraction underneath. And a summary at the end. Please do feel free to join in with any comments you want to make, things you've seen, things you've read, heard about, whether it's something you saw absolutely correct or something anecdotal is fine. Quote from the Pensions Minister, that's not him by the way, but looks like a politician, about how big a change this is. He calls it a revolution in pensions. It's very true. You'll see as the presentation unfolds what that's about. Right, employer awareness. You're all here to improve your awareness. Employer awareness of pension reform. We've got some pictures to help you with that. How many of you would see yourselves there? Just don't know what it's about. Heads pretty much in the sand. Not deliberately. It's just passed you by. One or two of you might come out of this category. You've heard a little whisper about it. Small light bulb moment. But actually, it's still largely a mystery. Probably very, very few of you who know about it, but because you're a little bit pushed, a little bit stacked out, just haven't got around to doing it yet. When you see what this is about, it needs to become agenda number one, okay? Because all that other stuff behind you'll have to wait. You'll see why. More on the awareness thing. It's exceedingly low, generally, employer awareness. You're all here, as we said, because you need to know more about this. Many employers just don't know what's going on with it. Some are wrongly assuming their accountant will deal with it. This is crucial. A number of employees are telling us this. Now, the fact is, accountants, 70% of them are not authorised to deal with pension business. They're not licensed for it. And if you an employer, are assuming your accountant is going to deal with it, please check. Don't just assume. If you assume, when it gets to the 11th hour, the accountant and you might be having a very awkward conversation because nobody's dealt with it and time is up. And most of you employers do not understand the legal requirements or the penalties for not complying. So this will tell you. Size of the problem from a national perspective. 1.2 million employers in the UK. Large, medium-sized, small and micro. 86% don't have a pension scheme that complies with the new regulations. 86%. A good many will have pension schemes, but they're not compatible with the new regulations. And some have some stakeholder schemes that were put in many years ago because they had to, they were obliged to, but the take-up rate is minimal and nobody can remember anything about it. That's quite a common scenario. Typical employer concerns, these are sort of feedback we're getting from you guys as employers. Setting up costs, setting up all the research, market research and so on, considering options. And then the installation of the scheme, plus the ongoing looking after the scheme once it's installed. Some employers have asked, will I have to employ more staff? What systems am I going to have to put in to run this once it's in place? The burdens of making all these decisions. How do I go about it? Well, we're here to help you. That's what we're here for. All the things on this list we can deal with for you. All you got to do is shout, but please don't leave it too long before you do. So, reasonable looking employer, he's asking for help, this chap. What time deadline is there? The time deadline is absolutely significant and crucial. Type of pension options. Any employees you have over the age of 22 earning £8,100 a year or above will be automatically enrolled. Employees you have who don't meet that criteria, so you've got 21-year-olds, for example, they don't need to be automatically enrolled, but they still need to be offered the pension scheme. Contribution levels, it's phasing in to get you used to it, but by 2018, you as an employer will be having to contribute 3% of the employee's salary. Cost implications initially for how to get the thing in place, how to make sure it complies with the new regulations, then the ongoing reporting thereafter, cost implications of all those things. Where to find advice? Here, right here. You just have to ask. I would reiterate on the time thing, the time deadline, there's going to be a very large queue forming. It's already starting to form. It's a queue you might not be able to get the front of. So please be aware of that. Law of the Land, Pensions Act 2008. I'm sure you've all had a look at it. Fantastic piece of legislation. It's only about that thick. Employers must enrol job holders into a qualifying workplace pension. Must pay contributions, being phased as I mentioned. By 2018, October, it must be 8% in total, 3% from the employer. So notionally 4% from the employee, 1% from tax relief. Needs just one eligible employee. So Bob the builder and his sidekick Reg. Bob has got to put a pension scheme on for Reg. Bob's not going to be thrilled by that, but he's got to do it nonetheless. Admin duties as an employer. Some must and must nots here. You must automatically enrol everyone eligible. You must register the scheme. You must provide information to eligible and non-eligible job holders. So you've got to communicate with them. In practice, we would do that for you, but it's got to be done nonetheless. Provide information to the scheme provider, whichever one that turns out to be. That's normally through payroll. Your payroll spreadsheet is what the scheme will be written on. Process opt-outs. People can unenroll themselves. They've got to do it in writing, but they can unenroll themselves. Once they've unenrolled, they have to be re-enrolled 3 years later. So this is the ongoing work aspect of this. Well, just one aspect of it. You must keep records. Keep them for 4 years minimum. In terms of what you mustn't do, discouraging of membership is not allowed. This is going to be firmly policed. You mustn't give job holders the opt-out form because that would be seen as encouragement or coercement there. Prohibited recruitment conduct. In other words, when new employees start, they're steered away from the pension scheme because you have to contribute, of course. You're not authorised to give advice, ladies and gents. So you mustn't do that either. Everyone okay so far? Right, another crucial slide. Staging dates. Staging dates mean it must be done by date, not I'll start looking at it date. Now, all of you guys in this room fit into this category on this page. There's a 5-month period there where many tens of thousands of employers like you have got to get your auto-enrolment sorted out. So just have a quick look at that slide. By July 14, between February and July 14, this is where you all fit. It's, for guys in this category, 1st of February 14 is 11 months to go. Now, 11 months might seem like a reasonable span of time, and on the face of it, it's easy to understand why you'd see that. But in practice, from first consultation, this is an information giving session today, what would follow would be one-to-one meetings with you and your fellow decision makers in your organisations. You guys will make a decision about what to do. From that time to us being on site, doing the installation of what we're going to do is 9 months. Well, people in this category have got 11 months to go. Time is starting to run out. And then 2 months later, there's another tranche got to be done. Now, there are tens of thousands of companies up and down the land have got to be enrolled in this period of time. This is the queue I mentioned that you can't get to the front of. So please, guys, diaries open, you need to get weaving. Penalties for non-conformance or late conformance. So let's just look at You've all got more than 50 employees. Let's look at the category. 50 employees to 249. £2,500 per day penalty. The penalties are just simply frightening. It would wipe some companies out. It's not an option. You've got to get this done in time. Here are your options, broadly. Group personal pension, it's in first place because it's the premium option. This will be the favoured one that you're through the eyes of your employees. This is the proper supported contract with a household name in the UK. There are lots of these around, and this is what employees will value. The other three are kind of other options which have their merits, but they're underneath this in terms of attraction and quality. So a bit more meat on the bones, group personal pension. A lot of you will have personal pensions. Majority of you will. Some of you may have group personal pensions in your companies at the moment, which will be probably not very well supported. There's no advisor structure with it, and the employees are left their own devices. The providers of household names: Scottish Widows, Scottish Equitable, Scottish Life, etc. These days, these modern contracts have very low annual management charges. They're much more attractive in terms of charges than they used to be. There's a feature called salary exchange, which can be offered with a GPP. It's an attractive option, and it improves tax efficiency of the whole thing. We haven't got time to cover that today, but that's something I'll talk to you one-to-one about. Really attractive option. Large choice of investment funds, typically 200. Annual review service for members, that is provided by us at Manning & Co. We provide that, not the provider themselves. It means that we return a year after the pension scheme is set up, and we do reviews with all members who wish to have a review. In practice, not all take that up, but we commit the time to do that review. Full support for the ongoing employer reporting. We will provide you with software which will do all the essential box ticking for you going forward to make sure that your reporting requirements are met on time. A group personal pension is flexible. It can accept transfers in of older pensions, and employees can transfer out any time if they want to go and work somewhere else. Lots of flexibility. Retirement planning service also built in. Again, that is provided by us at Manning & Co. We do that as part of the service to the employer and to support the scheme correctly. People coming up to retirement or at retirement, we will commit time for to take them through their options. Everyone okay so far? Some nodding heads, excellent. NEST, National Employment Savings Trust. It's government backed. NEST is a standalone corporation that was created to run this, to basically be an option for people, for employers. It's provided free of charge to the employer. So right away it's an attraction for you. Group personal pension isn't free of charge. There's a cost implication with that one. This one is free of charge. So employers might think, oh, that's quite attractive. It won't be seen as attractive by your employees because it's a whole rank of quality lower than a group pension option. It's a basic contract. It's not flexible. It cannot accept transfers in, and no transfers out are permitted. So any member who's got some NEST benefits, who goes and works somewhere else where there's a better pension, cannot transfer their NEST into that new pension. So it's very, very inflexible. Limited choice of investment funds. There are 5. Contributions are high for the first 10 years. There's a reason for that. NEST is being created to assist with pension auto-enrolment, to be a major player, in fact, in it. And the company that have been set up to run it have a large loan from the government. They have to repay it in the first 10 years. And they're doing it through high charges. So for the first 10 years, this is not a competitive option, significantly so. Annual contribution limit, £3,600. That'll be enough for a good number of people, but not for others. People's pension specifically aimed at low earners in high turnover industries. That's what it's created for. It's trust-based like NEST, a very basic contract, low charges, limited funds available. Again, 5 funds. It's more flexible. It will accept transfers in and it will permit transfers out. Fourth option is brand new to the UK. ATP. Danish company ATP launched in the United Kingdom just about 12 months ago. Denmark has had pension compulsion for 40 years. I think they're probably the pioneers. The Australians and the Canadians have had it for a number of years. I'm not sure how many, but they've had it it's well established. 40 years is significant. There is one investment fund only with this. Low annual charge structure again, no cost to the employer again, and it does offer a fully supported piece of software to look after itself running forward. It's a reasonable option, but it's got no track record. It's very new to the UK, and it's run by a foreign, obviously from a foreign state. So, but it will pick up, as you're starting to see, the size of the auto-enrolment is so big that they will pick up some of it. Just return to Nest for a moment. Some employers have said, oh, well, okay, if we start running out of time, we'll just ring up Nest, we'll just get Nest in and get it dealt with that way. Note of caution on that. This is a quote from this chap, Roy Porter, who's Assistant Director of Nest, saying, employers with as few as 100 staff, that's very much you guys, are expecting help from Nest and other providers. Fact is, we won't be able to do it. Now, Nest is aimed at large corporates. It's aimed at your 15, 20, 25,000 employees. They're not expecting to do much in the lower tier area. That's significant. Because we all treat it as a catch-all. Actually, it doesn't look like it's going to be. So, a fallback position that might not be there. Why now? Employee engagement. This is a good opportunity to show yourselves to your employees in a really good light. When we get to the communication stage, I'll be standing up in front of your employees doing a presentation like this saying, this is what your employer is doing for you. We don't quite have dancing girls and music, but it's rolled out as a proper benefit. You can build it into pay reviews, which can be quite a useful way of mitigating the cost of a GPP, is by building it into a pay review. The queue I mentioned, 900,000 companies have got to find a place in the queue. 900,000 by 2017. It's staggering. If you're a long way back in that queue, you can see that you could have a massive problem on your hands. Something else queue related. Whilst providers and advisors like us have capacity, we can only run so many schemes. Once we've got as many as we can deal with, we've got to start saying no. So you might be ringing us saying, oh, saw your presentation last year, can you come and sort this out? We might have to say no. Capacity is unavoidable. With 900,000 companies, capacity is going to be a real issue. On the time is short bit, fevered sprinting going on, trying to get in time. Summary, just to recap what we've talked about, implications of auto-enrolment. It's going to be the law of the land. As employers, you've got to make sure you've complied. Choice of pension options, you know there are 4. 1 premium grade, 1 on the other, 3 underneath it. Salary exchange, which is the tax efficient aspect where it reduces employer costs. That's available with a group personal pension only. And is a standalone subject really. We deal with you on a one-to-one basis. Again, we're back to the can't get to the front of the queue in time, the clock, tick-tock, tick-tock, and there's a little cartoon to aid. Professional advice is essential. We're here, guys. Get your diaries open. We'll get some time allocated to come and talk to you, specifically deal with your situation. But your time is almost up. You've got to act. Okay, that's it. We've got to the end of the presentation. I hope you found that reasonably useful. If there's any questions you'd like to ask, I'll see you individually afterwards. There's tea and biscuits laid on. Please don't eat all the digestives. Go for the hobnobs. Thank you very much. See you shortly.